Welcome back to BLC Studios here on the campus of Bethany Lutheran College. I'm Don Westfall, Director of Athletics at Bethany. And it's time for another installment of the Bethany Sports Beat. Joining me for this edition, head volleyball coach John Olmanson, his second year. Coach, how much smarter are you in your second year than you were a year ago when you and I first met? You've been coaching volleyball for a long time, not at the collegiate level.
Right.
Was there a surprising level of difference in terms of the collegiate game, or just what were some of the bigger things that now that you're on your second go-around, you're going to have a better grasp of?
Better grasp is really who our opponents are and what they bring. I had watched quite a bit of film leading up to my first year, but until you're there in the gym experiencing it, it's still different. It's one-dimensional. And so going into it now, we had a nice, fast-paced, aggressive offense last year. But now, after having seen the competition, we know what changes to make to be more effective. So
all right,
that's probably the biggest thing.
A year ago, your team finishing fifth in the conference, just a couple games out of a playoff berth, really took it all the way into the last weekend. If you look at the current roster, obviously a couple of big names no longer with the program, in Kesslin Swenson, Miranda Krensky, Miranda, an all-conference player for you. But yet there is a nice balance of depth there coming back in some of the veteran players.
Absolutely. We've got 9 returners this year. And 7 of those 9 are in their 4th year, so they've experienced it. They've been there and competed in the UMAC conference at a high level already. So we're going to lean on them for their leadership on and off the court both, and some very important positions that those returners are in as well, with key positions on both offense and defense.
Okay, and then we also, if we look at the roster, you'll see in there actually about 19 players out, so a greater number of players. Let's first of all just talk about some of the more talented players that you think even early on as a freshman might be in a position to come in and make an impact for your club.
Absolutely. My goal for myself was to go into volleyball markets, if you will, in the state and out of the state, to find players that have in their high school and junior Olympic career played at a higher, faster pace already, at a higher level. And I'm happy to say we landed quite a few of those athletes.
Okay.
And they'll be able to come in and transition to the speed of the college game easier because they already played a closer level to that.
Okay. Is it maybe even more important than the extent that you're going to have a few players who are going to come in and see some significant moments for you right away on the floor, but just with that many players out there, talk about the change in terms of what goes on already in just a few days in practice, the depth of the squad, the fact that just lends itself rather to just a better sense of what's going to go on in the practice. Just simply more competition between the players for playing.
Absolutely, there's friendly competition amongst the players for court time, certainly. But a real nice benefit to having a deep roster like we have now is that with our small roster last year, my first year, we never really had the starting unit competing against other players from the program. And it was kind of interchanging players from one side of the net to the other. And we really couldn't play it out and compete, basically us versus them. And now with a roster of 19, we're able to do that. And it is just a faster paced camp already. We're halfway through camp, and we're ahead of schedule, in my opinion, at the skill level than I thought we'd be.
And you almost have to be, because in looking at your schedule for the season, you really don't coast into anything right away with the tournaments you're going to be seeing out of the MIAC schools in St. Olaf and Augsburg. You'll be taking on a couple of Wisconsin State schools. Gus Davis, that we know locally has a very good program. St. Thomas, not bad. St. Olaf, Carleton. There's going to be a very short indoctrination for some of these newer players into the collegiate game.
Yeah, and that's a challenge of the coaching staff, is to make sure that we don't have newer players to the program getting overwhelmed. Like you said, we play some of our sister schools in the MIAC and WIAC programs, and 2 nationally ranked teams from last year that we come up against right away this year in Augsburg and St. Thomas. So the challenge will be a good one, and it'll be immediate, absolutely.
How does the UMAC stand up for this coming year? Again, last year, if we take a look at the standings, Morris and Northwestern tied for the conference championship. Martin Luther had a fantastic year as well, right up there. And then you and Scholastic were kind of fighting it into that last weekend for that last berth. Do you kind of see this logjam where really any one of those 5 schools could be positioned for a couple of those top 2 spots in the conference at the end of the year?
Definitely. I'm a glasses half full guy, but I do see Scholastica with also having a young roster yet, and MLC with some significant losses to graduation. I do see the 3 of us pretty even in our conference. And so again, with a 4th team needing to be up there, Morris and Northwestern really having a good chance of repeating their standings, 1 or 2. I see us in the mix for that 3 or 4 spot. Very solid chance of that.
Or even higher. I'll think
even
optimistically. My glass is a little fuller than yours is maybe, but I know you're optimistic, and it'll be interesting to throw the team out there in a few weeks and see how they gel and what they can put together for the Vikings this year.
Yeah, last year we split with Morris, and Chad still compliments the ladies for doing that last year, and I think we might even be stronger this year. So I hope they're all ready.
Excellent. We look forward to the optimism that you share, and we'll see what transpires on the court this year. That is John Olmanson, head volleyball coach here at Bethany. And again, we thank you for watching the Bethany Sports Beat here on BLCVikings.com.